PlayStation 5, no disk drive. So it is in fact a digital edition. Originally, there was a common fault with the HDMI port. I sent it to a local repairman who returned it with the HDMI port removed, claiming he couldn't put one on. Has anybody attempted to fix it? Yes. Obviously, the local repairman who broke it took zero responsibility. I want to clarify, I am more than happy to pay for this to be looked at, as I just want to know ASAP if it's possible to be fixed. I've had this PlayStation for years and I knew that it was a common fault with the PS5 HDMI ports, but I still left the HDMI plugged in when I was moving the PlayStation around from house to house, which eventually broke the solder and stopped the image from displaying. Now, he did put in brackets, stupidly, I done this. That's not a stupid thing. Like, being able to move your console around is allowed. You know what I mean? The fact that it's happened is just an unfortunate situation with how bad the ports are soldered to the board. Okay? This PS5's been to a repair shop. How bad is it? If you cannot solve the issue and can only remove the HDMI port, then you can't call yourself a repair shop, most likely. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I would just advise that if you are ever in a situation where you're, unfortunately you need to get a console fixed, you just need to make sure that you do enough due diligence on your end to check the reviews. Even if you go to the shop, scope out a little bit. I know it's probably going to be a little bit harder to turn around at that point and say you're not too keen on getting it sorted, but you can just ask for a quote and ask how much it's going to be. And then if you get a vibe from the shop that it's not going to be too great, then walk away, essentially. We've got a couple of scuff marks on the PS5. There's quite a few down here. What I'm going to do first, as I do with pretty much every single repair, is I'm just going to make sure that it powers on. I can see that the warranty sticker has been lifted up and for some reason looks a little bit, I don't want to use the term scaly because that's just not true, but it does look a bit dirty in some weird way. On traces seem likely. Yeah, perhaps. I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like, why they weren't able to perform the repair. The power button felt a little bit sticky, if I'm honest. It does feel a little bit sticky. I'm just going to make sure that we don't get any funny, rebuilding database or anything like that. It might not have been turned off correctly when the repair shop had it. Definitely a possibility. But I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to turn it off right now. There we go. There's the 3 beeps. So it did just repair the storage. So whoever had this last, I'm going to go ahead and guess it was the repair shop. Didn't turn it off properly. They most probably just pulled the plug, which is why it's just had to, it maybe have overheated and it needed to rebuild the database. And now I'm going to look at the back. Oh, wow. They have actually, like he said, taken it out. Okay. It's very strange how they've just taken it out and said that they can't resolve it. Why would that be a thing? It sounds like somebody just said in the chat, it sounds like maybe what's happened is they tried to take the port off and rip pads. That's what I think. I really hope there's some traces left and that it's not going to be a full-on job, but we will we'll definitely see. So let's go ahead and actually strip this down, take it apart and have a look to see what has happened on the board itself. I'm going to be super intrigued as well to see if they've put this back together correctly, because there's a big correlation between, I don't know, ripping off a HDMI port and not putting the screws back when you put it back together. One of those. Everything seems okay. They've put the screws back in the right places. PCB Way is throwing a birthday bash and you are invited. You've got yourself some absolute mega discounts on PCB services, 3D printing and CNC machining. Whether you're building a robot or a rocket, please don't actually go ahead and build a rocket, but they have you covered. Coupons as well. Who says no to free money? Yes, please. And just when you think that's enough and it's all over, scroll to the bottom and make sure you get yourself entered into the lucky draw. You have to act fast though. This all disappears around July the 18th. So what are you waiting for? Go now and grab your fluxy juicy deals. I'll leave a link down below in the description. Thanks to PCB Way for sponsoring today's video. Okay. How was the repair shop done in terms of putting it back together? I mean, honestly, fine so far. I'm not going to sit here and nitpick at all. There's nothing to nitpick. They've not put the silver screws back into the incorrect places, and we know that because the chassis screws themselves on absolutely fine as well, so that's all good as well. Yeah, the small silver screws are all in the right place. They put the antennas back correctly as well. I know you're probably watching this and thinking, Joey, well, yeah, how hard is it and difficult to take apart a PS5 and put one back together? Believe it or not, harder than you think if you've not done it before, I would say, especially because of the liquid metal. I've done hundreds of these now. I'm in a lucky state where I do know them quite well. I really, really remember taking apart my first couple of PS5s and just sweating. Okay, all the silver screws are out. Now, I'm about to criticize only for the fact of education. I don't like to criticize other people's work, but I feel like it's an important factor, especially that we're coming to repair this ourselves, and we're taking over this repair from a previous repair shop. They have been branded a repair shop. We have to remember that, which basically means that they are charging for a service. They've attempted a repair. I'm gonna tell you that, and I can tell that just from here. Now, what am I talking about? What do I mean? So what you see in front of me is what looks to be Plumber. That was a fantastic rhyme, by the way. It's probably some sort of, I want to use the term plumber's flux. It's probably going to be plumber's flux. What does that mean? It's corroded the copper. There's also a bit of green here. So I'm actually looking forward to, well, I'm not, in a way, looking forward to seeing the other side of the board. I'm not keen on that. So I don't know if we're going to have like, yeah, don't say plumber's solder. Please do not say plumber's solder. I see the plumber's flux already and I'm scared. If that's been in a shop, they need naming and shaming. I don't like to do it. I don't like to do it. I'll be honest with you. There's a huge part of me that just hates that. I'd rather dish it up to him in the sense of, just to let you know, this is what I've come across. Here's the stream. Take a look at it for yourself. And this is how I'm going to try and fix it, just in case that helps you and give you the ability to fix things for people going forward. Because the annoying thing is that they're paying for a service to actually try to repair. So they have charged somebody. So it is really annoying in that sense. They've charged somebody and said, I'm going to try and fix your device. Then they've given it back to this person like this. I feel like I'm in a better situation to be able to give the person who sent me this device a little breakdown and report of what exactly has been done by the shop. And then what they can do is maybe go back to that shop and say, hey, somebody's looked at this live and this is the situation. So give me my money back or whatever. You know, they can do that if they like. But I try not to get involved with the politics of that. Ugh, okay, all right. Well, not good, because you probably can't even really see it. I'm going to try and shine the light off of it, okay? There's liquid metal across a couple of components here. We've also got liquid metal up here as well on the back of these RAM chips and RAM sticks. So that's not good. That's not ideal. I'm just inspecting the board and getting all of this on camera because, again, it's really, really good to get all these things on camera. Because if I put this back together and suddenly it stops working, you know, there's liquid metal on the board. I need to first off just get rid of some of this liquid metal. I have good news, is that we don't have 19 rip pads. You can probably see from there. I've got 3. I can't really see from this angle, but I think it's around about 3 or so. So I've got a couple. I've got a couple of rip pads just over here on the side. But that they've definitely attempted this repair and it's not gone very well. Now, here's a caveat. It could have damaged other things with the circuit itself. The board doesn't look bowed, so I don't necessarily think that it's... oh, no, it has definitely taken a lot of heat. As you can see... can you see the burn there? We do have to be careful. Right, let me move the chassis out of the way, and let's get started with this. Burnt to a crisp. It is burnt, yeah. Did you get proof that it was a repair shop? This seems more like a failed DIY repair attempt to me. I think a lot of people are quick to blame the person who sent this to me, but let's not do that. I think, I don't know if there's any more investigating that I could do. I don't want to go back to that person, ask for a receipt. Like, that's not what this is about.
Now, hold your horses, because I do actually have some further evidence to back up this person's story. For obvious reasons, I've decided to blank out everything. If we go to the first email, which I believe is here, this is an email response to the person that sent me the PS5 asking about a price on how much it would cost to fix a HDMI port. It says, I can replace the HDMI port for you. You'd be looking at roughly £80 to £95 and I could get it turned around in a day for you. I'd love to give you a more precise quote, but a lot of the HDMI ports are sold out, so I need to try and source one, which is kind of a little bit of a red flag because they're so readily available, PS5 HDMI ports, even back in, September 2024. This is 3 days later and says, very sorry, I've been a bit busy, which kind of to me insinuates that they haven't replied or done the job within the day that they promised. If you would like me to use the same HDMI port already installed, then it'll be £70. So he's charging £70 just for the labor side of things. Then we have another reply. This is on the 20th, which is subsequently another 9 days later. And this again is a reply from the repair shop saying, I'm so sorry, I have the HDMI port, but I came down with what I think might be COVID at the start of the week. I'm hoping it's nearing the end now. I didn't want to spread it unnecessarily to you. Let me see how I'm feeling by Sunday and I'll get you booked in Tuesday, Wednesday next week. If I feel fine tomorrow, then I should be able to get you in on Sunday. Again, I really do have to apologize, but I've just been wiped out. Now, actually, to me, reading that, okay, maybe he didn't actually take on the job and then promised the day, didn't get it back to the person, the customer in the day. It looks like maybe this is just from a communication standpoint. Then we've got the final one, which is a week later on the 27th. And it says, hey, I managed to remove the old HDMI port and replace it with the new port. My findings are that the PS5 displays a picture and appears to be working perfectly fine. What I have noticed is that the image does cut out if the HDMI port moves adjacent from the board. Moves up adjacent from the board. Well, it shouldn't be moving up adjacent from the motherboard. No HDMI port should have any wiggling or anything like that. I'm happy with my soldering joints, but I think because of how the previous HDMI was installed, it has damaged the pins and therefore has a bit of a funny turn when the HDMI is pointed in the wrong direction. I'll get it back together and ready for collection tomorrow. Sorry, it's not 100% fixed, but I can only put it down to an issue with the board and the pins. If the port is not moved once plugged in, there appears to be no drop in display. What is really confusing me is the fact that it says, but I think because of how the previous HDMI was installed, it's damaged the pins. As I say, these are messages that I've received from the person who sent me this PS5, and I thought I'd relay them in the video to hopefully make the story a little bit clearer. If you want to put together your own image, then feel free to do so.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cotton swab and just make sure that I don't have any liquid metal around this area by just doing this. And it looks pretty good. I think I just got like the tiny last bit of it like that, and that's fine. Okay. Now, luckily, we only have those small components on the back, but, you know, this could fail in a bunch of different ways. If one of the sides of these was ground and it was connecting to an actual rail, it would be shorting it, and therefore the console wouldn't work. So the tiniest little spill of liquid metal can be very detrimental to a console working. I just got a little bit more to clean up. So again, I'll come back in with some IPA. Are you ready to have a look and feast your eyes over the HDMI port? Yes or no? Let's have a look, shall we? Okay, we've got another one where I don't know what kind of solder has been used here. I don't know is that all just scrapes or is that just solder? I don't know if that looks like copper to me, and then they've gone over it with solder. We've got a couple of traces missing. We've got 2 traces missing over here that are important. This middle one here is ground, so we don't necessarily care about that too much because we've got so many other ground points on this port. We've got a diode here that looks like it's been taken off and put back on or knocked. I don't know if that's going to be the right way. I will need to check that. We've got a resistor that's hanging on for dear life, so I'll put that back in a second as well. And then we've obviously got the solder. I mean, what? Oh, it's just like, I think it is just flux in there, isn't it, rather than solder? Because it looks like they've tried to take stuff out, perhaps. I need to give this heat to see what's going on. We're missing a cap here. This is like a little protection cap for the HDMI circuit. So we'll aim to get that back as well. Now, that is going to be a difficult job because... not difficult, but what usually happens is that this is usually all masked down here, so that when you put the component on here, it really simply just sits flat. But the issue being is that this has been like stripped away and revealed copper. So now they've put solder on here. So when I go ahead and try and flow the cap here, it might go a bit skew with and a bit angled because there's solder here as well, if that makes sense. First things first, I need to clear out those holes, actually. So I'm going to add some heat and go from there. Wow, and this is the first time that I've seen the back from this side. Now, like I said before, this isn't great because of how burnt it looks and just like disheveled. Or I think that's flux. Yeah, it is. Look, look. I mean, I'm wiping that away and I've not applied any heat to this board yet. What on earth is going on? So we've got a low quality flux, aka like a plumber's flux or something. I need to put my fume extractor on like almost full. Okay, so 480 degrees Celsius, 99% airflow. Again, just to kind of get this clean. I have got shorts on, by the way. Look at this. Now, that's all I'm going to give it. Why is it important that I say that I've got shorts on? Because I'm dangling this over the desk. And if I drop any of this flux on my legs, I'm not going to be happy. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just making sure... Actually... Now, to not hit this component here is going to be quite difficult. But it is what it is. The reason why this is in the situation that it is because they've used flux, which is just not suitable for the job. I mean, they're using 500 degree Celsius solder here. It's just not coming off the board. And this is the second time I've had this, isn't it? Look at that. What is it, man? I really hope this is going to be okay. Now, I should be able to get a port in there. I'm just going to check. That's fine. That's going in there okay, which means that when I fill these up, it'll be okay. Right, so now we can turn it back over and clear up what we've got on the other side. I think I'm going to go wire after. Or should I go wire before? I think I'm going to go wire after today. First things first, I'm going to go with a little bit of heat and flux. And I'm going to just wick up pretty much everything in this area. Okay. A little bit of flux on the board. I'll just go over it real quick and I'll get my super wick. Do you know what? The only issue that I'd say with wire under is that it's harder to rectify mistakes. So if you go ahead and mess up, then it's more difficult because you have to usually end up taking the port off. Whereas if you add the wire after, you can have a few goes at it to try and get it good. I'm still not that great at trace repair. I'm not somebody who can just go, yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I still have to like consider my options before knowing what to do, you know. So I am just going to add a tiny bit of solder to it. Now my iron that I've got for this is rather big. Now I like to put heat into the board whenever I solder because it does make your life a lot easier. So I'm just going to put my iron here and a little bit of solder. Make sure, yeah, that's on. That should be on now. I'm going to hold it for a little bit. Make sure. There is also, by the looks of it, no solder on the pad where there needs to be a cap or two. I hate solder mask, chat. It's the messiest stuff ever that I've ever worked with. Now, what I'm trying to make sure here is that I have the thinnest layer. Why am I not just lathering this on so the port can sit flat? Exactly that. Because if I put mounds and mounds of solder mask on, it will then raise the port up, and then it's going to be super difficult to line all of the pins up and get the port to sit flat, and it just causes us a bunch of issues. So we don't want that. And yes, I'm talking even just like a minuscule bit. If you're like a little bit too far off, it's not going to look good for you. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of flux just here. We'll start with the ground holes. I'm just filling these up with solder. Now, because there's revealed copper here, it's going to look not great, unfortunately. It is what it is. That's all we can do. We've got a bit of solder there. Should be able to scoop it up. I need to drop more flux. I actually want those blobs a little bit bigger. Right, let's give it a nice clean. Looks horrendous right now. We'll sort it. Right, so we've got 2 caps of solder on right now. There's one. This cap is going to be a little bit iffy, like I said, chat, and the reason being is because they've scraped away so much of the conformal coating. It's not going to be pretty. I'm going to do about 40% now. That is just, they called it a tombstone, so we're going to put that back down. Just harder than it looks. And that's fine as it is. So we put those caps back. That's all good. Resistor looks fine. Diode looks okay. Is that tinned okay? Yeah, she's fine. This one is a data line here. This middle one is ground, and this one is the data line. So we've got data line, ground, data line. So the last one is important, but the middle one isn't. I'm not going to put too much flux on here. And I'm also just going to spread it out a little bit, okay? Because I don't usually like to work with too much flux, if I'm honest, especially on jobs like these. Heating up from the bottom here, 480 degrees, 99%. I'm just waiting to see all of the solder molten. That's what I'm looking for right now. Right, it's starting to go. Can you see the pads in the middle? Look fine. Perfect. I just need the ground holes on both sides now. 1, 2. So I'll try and put the port on. Oh, the right one's kind of seized up a little bit, so I'll go back over it. There we go. Like that. I'll just drop it in. Now what I'm going to do is shimmy the port around a little bit. Shimmy, shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. I'm probably going to hold it about there. Keep the heat on underneath. There it goes. And then come off the heat. Should be solidly in there now. I'm not going to be picky about the ground hole situation here, as long as the solder goes through. First thing I'm going to do is clean. Now, if we take a look at these pins, they should be connected to the board, which they are. Those pins there are pretty nice, and I can see that the solder has come up through the ground legs because we're getting a nice little shine. And if I look at the back, how's that looking? Probably a little bit bare on one of them. Whilst this is hot, I'm actually going to go over this real quick. I'll come in with some flux and just round off these and make them look a little bit nicer, presentable, and more functional, should I say, most importantly. Want to make sure there's no bridges on the right. There's not. That's good. And they all look pretty good to me. I'm just going to test a couple of them. Got that one loose, and that one loose. That one's actually soldered to the middle pin because I've done. I think maybe there might be that little bit of ground there with there. So this is where this is where my life gets tough. Okay, and I'm not great at the whole trace repair aspect, but I'll definitely give it my best shot. Putting a little bit of heat back into the board. I need to go a little bit closer in with the scope as well. So let's do that as well. I mean, it's kind of the same size as the tray, so I think that'll be all right. Where's my knife? Now, I do just want to make sure that is connected to the pin. And I feel like it is. I feel like it's as good as that's going to get. Cool. And then what I'll do is I'll give it a clean. And I'll actually clean it now as I go. There's my brush. Yeah, that's cool. That's solid. It's not going anywhere. We got one more. Then we get to see if this works. Oh, things that I didn't want to happen. There we go. Perfect. That is exactly what I wanted to happen. That's a good connection. That's a great connection, actually. I see the little bubble. We like the bubble. We like to see the bubble. Now what I'm going to do is take 2 pairs of tweezers here and just twist that like that. And I can solder it down. Couple of nice connections there, hey? Definitely attached, both of them. Just checking solder ground holes. Probably need some more, if I'm honest. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. Just to make triply sure that we are going to be okay. Time for Big Bertha. Now, a lot of people wouldn't have actually seen Big Bertha make an appearance. I'm going to start with one side because I don't want the other side to heat up and it fall off. I'm actually going to wait again. I'm going to wait for that to solidify. So what this is going to be doing, the reason I've switched to Big Bertha, by the way, for anyone wondering, is because I want to try and make sure that the solder goes into the board, and hopefully through out the other side. And the way to do that is by using a bigger surface area of heat, which should then heat through the other side of the board and drag the solder through. It's like that. The reason you can tell is because there's not much solder left on the board, so it must have gone somewhere, and it's not on the iron, so it's gone. Should have gone through to the other side. Those are now lovely joints. If I wasn't actually lazy, I would use Big Bertha on pretty much every single soldering job that I do, because look at those joints. They are like really, really nice joints. What do I mean by that? They're like a pyramid. So can you see how like the solder kind of goes in and then up the leg? So you can see the leg visibly on all of these. I think it's time to test. Moment of truth. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, blue light, white light. Do we have picture? Yeah, buddy. PS5 fixed. Super happy I got it resolved for this person. Means I can send it back. It's probably like I said, the oldest job. When I say the oldest job, it was like the one that was first inquired on the thing. So good to be able to get this back. I opened it yesterday. I opened it today, got it yesterday. So yeah, not a bad turnaround. Hey, I'll get it boxed up, same box, because the box itself was absolutely fine, and I'll get it back to the person who sent it.